But I think one of the biggest questions we need to ask ourselves is, you know, are you willing to change? And not do you want to change, because I believe everybody wants to change. Everybody wants to get better. Um, but it's are you willing? Okay, because the wanting and willing are two different things. All right. Um, and the best change is when you change before you have to. See, there's an old saying change before you have to. But the truth is, a lot of times we shrink ourselves to fit in places that we have outgrown. How many people are shrinking themselves to fit into places that they have outgrown? Because people will shrink themselves and jam themselves and keep themselves in places and situations because they've convinced themselves those things are comfortable. And don't it's not something to feel bad about. It's a normal human characteristic that we love comfort. We are creatures of comfort. That's why people are so easy to predict, because people do the same things. People love routine. It's only a rare group of people that seek growth. Most people seek comfort. That's why most people are what they call average. Most people never achieve their full potential because they get to a certain point and they get beaten down by life, or they start to assimilate with everybody around them. And the truth is that there's just not a lot of greatness out there. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of average, but there's not a lot of great. And so in order to be great, do great things, you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to change before you have to. I've talked before about, about potting plants. A lot of people will sit somewhere and they will not allow their roots to grow. Sometimes that's the discomfort that we have. We find ourselves basically living a Groundhog Day with our lives because we are unwilling to make the necessary changes that are required in order to let our roots expand. You can't keep growing if you stay in the same place. Period. Okay? And that's not just geographically too. A lot of times the biggest growth we have is mentally. In fact, period, the biggest growth that you're going to experience is going to be mentally. You have to put yourself in a different mental space. Sometimes that means you have to seek different things. Sometimes that means you have to seek out different people to talk to expand your world, to expand your mind, to expand your thought process, and thereby expand your possibilities. But if you keep yourself in the same area, you will bear the same fruit because you have not opened up yourself to anything new. All right? And what keeps us in the same area? Fear. Okay? Fear. Love expands, fear contracts. Very simple. All right? Love is the energy that expands, fear is the energy that contracts. Fear will keep you in your spot. I think people have seen that it's a meme that it shows that a shark that is supposed to be 8 feet will only remain a certain size if you keep it in a tank. We adapt to our environment. Okay? We adapt to our environment. Unfortunately, we adapt to our environment. If you stay in a place that you have outgrown, sooner rather than later, the only thing you will do is you will stunt your growth. You will stunt your possibilities. You will stunt everything that you think you're capable of doing. And after a while, you assimilate. We see it all the time. We see people who, they clearly have immense talent, immense ability, and you wonder why they never did anything. Because they stayed in the same environment. I think that spawns another question for Thoughtful Thursday. Is your environment supporting your growth? Is your environment able to support your possibilities? Because if your environment is not able to support your possibilities, not able to support your growth, not able to give you the platform that is required in order to be the person that you need to be, then that means we have to change our environment. And we have to change before we have to. Okay? We have to seek out bigger pastures. We have to seek out more fertile soil. We have to seek out better environments and better people. And if we're unwilling to do that, then that means basically you're unwilling to grow. You may want to, but once again, you are unwilling. So that brings us back to the question in the beginning. Are you willing to change? Because in order to be willing to change, you have to do certain things. You have to put yourself in the proper position. You have to do the work that's required to change. Changing is not something that just happens because you want to do it. Changing is something that happens because you make a decision, and in order to do that, you have to make sacrifices. So look at your life and ask yourself, have you been shrinking yourself to remain in your position? When was the last time you tried to go outside of yourself? When was the last time you tried to do something different? When was the last time you did something different than the rest of the people around you? What differentiates you from the people in your group? Because I think what happens once again is we get very comfortable in our groups doing the same things, going to the same places, talking about the same things. When was the last time the people that you talked to, when was the last time you guys had a conversation about growth, about possibilities? When was the last time you guys actually sat down and envisioned yourself 3 to 5 years out and saw yourselves in a different place and actually had an intelligent conversation about how you would get there? Most of the time when we get together with people, we talk about people. We talk about what's going on today. It's only a rare group of people that actually talk about growth, that talk about possibilities. Because the only way you grow, you have to put your mind there. You have to first envision it. You have to first open your mind. Your mind is the biggest fertile ground. Okay? You have to first create the environment for change, and that environment starts here. But you cannot do that if you're constantly just discussing people and discussing today, or like someone just said, discussing the past. You know? When was the last time you actually had a discussion about growth, about possibilities, about dreams, about plans? But not just pie in the sky conversations. I'm talking about real conversations that involved laying it out, envisioning it, action plans, possibilities. These are the conversations you need to have. And if you're not having those types of conversations, you need to find people to have those types of conversations with. And if your friends and your family are incapable, that's not to say you have to cut them off, but you have to find people who are capable if you want to be that person. You know, I made a statement to somebody. If you don't know where you want to be in 5 years, that means you're already there. Let that sink in for a while. If you don't know where you want to be in 5 years, that means you're already there. Are you willing to change? Are you willing to be in a different place in 5 years? And if you are, you need to start doing something about it now. Because if you don't, here is exactly where you're going to be in 5 years. You will be the average, the ordinary, the regular, living Groundhog Day, complaining about your situation even though you know you've done absolutely nothing to impact it over the last 5 years. All you've done is get together with the same people, go to the same places, talk about the same things, rehash the same stories. You never talked about the future. You never created the future you wanted. You put no energy into it. So you should expect nothing different. There's a difference between wanting and expecting. People who expect things have done something for it. When I go to the bank, I expect to be able to withdraw a certain amount of money because I actually put it in there. Although I would want to be able to withdraw more, I know I haven't put it in there. So I have no reason to expect it. Are you willing to change? Are you willing to stop shrinking yourself? Are you going to take the steps to move yourself forward into the place that you truly want to and deserve to be in? Or are you going to continue to shrink yourself to fit into a place you no longer belong, into a place that you have outgrown? These are all things that you have control over. These are all things that you can impact with a simple change in mentality. But then it always boils down to you. It always boils down to, are you willing